These iconic visuals from the Cockroach Janta Party protest at Jantar Mantar have come to define the power of India's youth. Here are 4 things that made this protest different. Number 1. The protest spoke to everyone. Young people, and most of them had no previous political affiliation or had never been to a protest, showed up to demand accountability from the government. They could not be isolated by religion or caste, so they could not be accused of having vested interests or receiving foreign funds. They were, quote unquote, people like us. For many, the fight began at home, much before they even arrived at Jantar Mantar.
मैं इसलिए इस कॉस्ट्यूम में हूँ क्योंकि कुछ मेरे फैमिली मेंबर्स जो हैं तो दे आर टोटली अंधभक्त ओके और उन्हें पता है कि उन्हें पता है कि मैं हमेशा से अगेंस्ट रहा हूँ.
The demand for reforms in education and a better future for the youth resonated across the country. Public perception about the government appeared to shift, and the government was wary of alienating their own voters.
मीडिया है, मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया है, 9 से 10 बजे वो लोग जॉब से आते हैं फिर देखते हैं पूरे दिन या तो हिंदू मुस्लिम नहीं तो ये हो गया वो हो गया और मोदी को एक फ्रेम कर दिया कि वो भगवान है. इससे उनके थिंकिंग में है बेशक उनके पास ना भी सेविंग्स है ना उनके घर में अच्छा मतलब चल रहा हो सब कुछ ना एजुकेशन सही हो ना कुछ भी फिर भी उनके लिए एक ही चीज़ है कि नहीं मोदी बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है. हम अगर पूछे क्या अच्छा कर रहा है उनके पास कोई जवाब नहीं होता. सिर्फ इतना है कि मोदी अच्छा कर रहा है. हाँ मंदिर बना रहा है रोड बना रहा है. अब रोड के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात भी हम करें कि ये यहाँ टूट गया है ये चीज़ें नहीं वो गवर्नमेंट की गलती नहीं उसने तो बना दिया बेचारे ने तो काम किया ही ना.
As we've seen in previous protests, sections of the media and supporters of the ruling party tried their best to discredit the protesters. But these were all effectively countered online. The protest became as much about the narrative as it was about the cause itself.
सोशल मीडिया पर कॉकरोच जनता पार्टी को और इस मूवमेंट को बदनाम करने के लिए आईटी सेल फिर से एक्टिवेट हो गया है. दुनिया भर के व्हाट्सएप फॉरवर्ड और वही पुराने प्रोपेगेंडास चालू हो गए. ये कोई स्टूडेंट का प्रोटेस्ट है ही नहीं, वहाँ तो कोई बच्चे ही नहीं है.
मेरे पीछे देखो जंतर मंतर पर ये पता नहीं कौन से स्कूल के बच्चे आ गए. ये रियल जैन जी है. भाई क्यों आए हो यहाँ पे?
सपोर्ट करने के लिए आए हैं.
पंख मार के आए हो?
टीचर्स ने कहा है कि जाओ सपोर्ट करो.
Reels like this tried to persuade the audience rather than talking down to them. The CJP offered a large tent, accommodating anyone who felt alienated by the education system. This opened a conversation among marginalized communities who were hesitating to join the protests.
Okay, so I see a lot of posts from people who belong to the marginalized communities who say that they feel a certain kind of detachment from the ongoing protests because when we were attacked, these people were not there, and when we are going to get attacked again in the future, still these people won't be there. I seriously understand that feeling that it comes from repeated abandonment from the public conscience. But let me tell you one thing. I don't need someone to stand beside me and hold my hand to know that whatever is happening in this country is not right. As people who belong to the marginalized communities like the Dalits, the Adivasis, the Muslims, the Kurds, we know about state violence than anyone else, and why should we need a certain kind of reciprocity to oppose that state violence?
Left organizations like ISA and SFI joined the protest at Jantar Mantar. Opposition leaders also showed up in solidarity with the protesting students. Soon, it transformed into a pan-India movement, with parallel protests being held in many cities. Number 2, the loss of fear. Who can forget this iconic photo? Young people were not only pouring into the streets, they seemed to have completely shed their fear of the police and the ruling government. Humor was used to prove a point and diffuse the tension. Irreverence became a political tool.
सर लाठी चार्ज कब होगा? लाठी चार्ज एक दो मार देते 20 तारीख को आया नहीं था मैं.
Those who couldn't join the protest at Jantar Mantar sent their support in whatever way they could.
Can you guys see the amount of gig workers are here right now and they have so many packages of food. भैया ये कहाँ से आया है?
मैम ये आया है गुवाहाटी से.
Here's the third thing that stood out during this protest. The politics of hate was effectively countered. In the past, protests against the Modi government have been painted as anti-national and anti-Hindu. But this time, the youth could see through the politics of hate. Maybe it helped that they were never witness to the violent Mandir Masjid conflicts of the past.
ये 90s वाला भारत.
It opened up discussions within families. The agitation in Jantar Mantar lasted for 36 days. Stereotypes of other religions were broken.
हम सारे जंतर मंतर प्रोटेस्ट के जो भी स्टूडेंट्स आए हुए हैं वहाँ से यहाँ तक बंगला साहिब गुरुद्वारे तक पहुँचाने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी थी. तो उनको यहाँ पर पहुँचाया हमने. यहाँ पर पंखे की व्यवस्था है पूरी, यहाँ पर सोने की व्यवस्था है, यहाँ पर लंगर 24 घंटे चल रहा है.
हमारे धर्म के मंदिर के गेट बंद हो गए कल. हमारे धर्म के मंदिर का गेट बंद हो गए, लेकिन अल्लाह की मस्जिद खुली रही. ठीक है, सिखों का गुरुद्वारा खुला.
If you followed this protest, then you would know Junaid and why he became an Instagram star. He's a young protester from Ghaziabad who worked at the protest site in Jantar Mantar, serving food and water to other protesters, free of charge. But as soon as he went viral, members of his family in Ghaziabad and Meerut were arrested by UP police.
जो लोग यहाँ शांति से पानी बांट रहे, लोगों को खाना खिला रहे, उनके घर आप जा रहे हो सिविल ड्रेस में, उनके परिवारों को तंग कर रहे हो.
Junaid alleged that his family was being pressured to make him leave the protest site and return home.
लीगल टीम काम कर रही है उनकी, और रत्ना जी का फ़ोन भी आया था मुझे एक दो बार. लेकिन और इसमें विशेष रूप से ध्यान देना चाहिए, एक पूरी लीगल टीम बननी चाहिए और इसमें पूरा एक्शन होना चाहिए. हम ये चाहते हैं.
This incident highlights how identity can make some protesters more vulnerable than others. But support and solidarity for him only grew.
मैं अपने बेटे जुनैद को सहारनपुर से लेके आई थी. मैंने कहा कि ये बच्चा बहुत अच्छा इंसान है.
The protest opened up a dialogue. Young Muslims spoke up about being left on their own during the CAA NRC protests.
Today, once again, we are being told that Muslims are sitting at home and not supporting the movement at Jantar Mantar. This post claims some self-proclaimed Muslim liberals are saying we have nothing to do with this protest. We made the same appeal during the NRCCA protest. We asked everyone to join because the danger was not only ours, it threatened all minorities. But the majority chose to stand with the BJP instead and chant slogans like Delhi police, tum lat bajao, hum tumhare saath hain. And when Jamia students were brutally beaten inside their own campus, where was the solidarity?
These conversations led to honest reflection on selective solidarity.
Where was this anger during the CAA protests, when Adivasis in mining areas were protesting, when JNU students were protesting? And then there's been voices of don't shame the movement, it's happening, people have their own. I think it's okay to accept that we weren't there before. When the CAA protests were going on, I remember I was a teenager, and in our social circle, like my dad and his politics and the friends he surrounded himself with, there was always an air of like, don't say anything, like don't rock the boat, like don't share your views, don't share your opinions. Even if we were on the right side of history at that time, we were silent.
The fourth thing that stood out during the CJP protest is that in 2026, protesters rely very little on mainstream media. The CJP relied entirely on Instagram to convey its politics. Young people who document everything through reels also documented the whole protest on Instagram. The reels drew a larger crowd. Confronting authority with humor and irreverence gave the protesters an edge. They were laughing at the state. And in turn, the reels and memes got the government's attention.
Friends, मैं जानता हूं कि पेपर लीक एक कोई मामूली विषय नहीं है.
Gen Z showed that documenting state violence can be self-defense to prevent further acts of violence. The brutal police action of July 20th went viral and showed how protesters were victims and not perpetrators of violence. The reels and the trolling finally brought the government to the table, and that's how the young protesters won. India's Gen Z protest was a hit worldwide and won fans even across the border.
भाई चल क्या रहा है इंडिया में? मतलब Gen Z is protesting and no one can stop them क्योंकि they are too good at it. इससे एक चीज़ ये भी अच्छी हो रही है कि हाँ पाकिस्तानी and Indian Gen Z are uniting. मीडिया एक तरफ, पॉलिटिक्स एक तरफ, लेकिन सोशल मीडिया की Gen Z are all united. और यकीन मानो हम भी तुम लोग के साथ हैं. अगर मैं बॉर्डर के उस पार होती ना तो शायद मैं भी उस प्रोटेस्ट में होती.
In 1 month, the government has been forced to take a step back, and the optics have been terrible. The CJP has struck a deal with the government to ensure that no legal action can be taken against protesters. It was one of their 3 conditions, along with Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. And they got the government to agree to all 3 of them, finally calling off the protest only when Dharmendra Pradhan resigned on July 25th. But alarm bells have gone off due to legal action being initiated against the protesters in other NDA ruled states like Assam and West Bengal. Even if this is the end of the movement, Abhijeet, Dipke and the Cockroach Janta Party have left a defining mark on India's future.